Buckle up, everyone, because today we are diving headfirst into the mind of Elon Musk.
Yeah, this is going to be a wild one.
You know it?
So we're breaking down his recent appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Which I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there.
He does not hold back.
He really doesn't.
From
You
waste to AI to like tipping his toes into some conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting stuff.
So what struck me listening to this interview is that Musk, he kind of connects these seemingly disparate issues to reveal this like consistent worldview.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You know, he's not just like offering opinions.
Right.
He's actually like building a case.
Totally.
Based on his own experiences.
Yeah, and observations.
So one of the first things he tackles is government waste, specifically through his initiative, Doge.
Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah.
This is a big one.
He dropped some pretty eye-opening numbers about the scale of the problem.
He does. And I think I was like writing down some of these stats as I was listening.
Oh, yeah, same here.
And I was like,
There are some shocking ones.
yeah, it's not just the amount of money that's lost.
Right.
It's the systemic issues that it kind of like reveals.
Exactly. Yeah, it points to like a much deeper problem.
So Musk, he claims that the U.S. government is losing $2 trillion a year.
A year and $2 trillion.
And failing its own audits.
Which is crazy.
Which is nuts.
That's not how things are supposed to work.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be checks and balances.
And he compares it to a poorly managed business with an unlimited credit line.
Which is a great analogy because it highlights like the lack of accountability that like most of us wouldn't tolerate in our own lives. We're held accountable for our budgets.
Right.
Why shouldn't the government be too?
And he doesn't just like point fingers.
Right.
He offers some really concrete examples.
Yeah, he names names.
He does. So he talks about...
Well, he doesn't name names.
When he talks about...
He talks about specific organizations.
Yeah. He talks about $1.9 billion going to an NGO.
With no prior activity.
Yeah.
Like, where did that money go?
Right. And then another one.
That's a good question.
He said 20 million deceased individuals.
Wow.
Still listed as alive.
Still in the system.
In the Social Security database.
Oh, my God.
Which is crazy.
That's a huge vulnerability.
It's a huge vulnerability.
And what could that potentially lead to?
I don't even want to know.
Identity theft.
Yeah, all sorts of fraud.
All kinds of problems.
So, you know, these aren't just abstract figures.
Right.
These represent real vulnerabilities in the system.
Absolutely. And it's like the tip of the iceberg. Like, if these are the things we know about.
Right.
What else is going on?
And I think what's so fascinating is how Musk, he kind of connects these examples to a larger narrative.
Oh, yeah. He weaves it all together.
He does.
Into like this bigger picture.
He sees these inefficiencies as symptoms of a deeper problem, which is this lack of transparency and this system that's ripe for exploitation.
And a lack of accountability.
And a lack of accountability, which you already mentioned.
It all ties together.
Yeah. And this is where Doge comes in.
His big project.
Yeah. He highlights how even like simple fixes,
just little tweaks.
Like requiring payment codes on treasury transactions.
Yeah.
Could save $100 billion annually.
It's crazy how much waste there is.
It's wild.
That we could just
fix.
Easily fix.
So it makes you wonder what else could be streamlined with a little bit of common sense and oversight.
Right. If we just paid attention and actually looked at the numbers.
And we're a little bit more accountable.
Yeah.
It's kind of like he's challenging that assumption that government waste is inevitable.
Totally.
It's just the way it is.
Busting that myth.
Yeah. And he argues that with a focus on data-driven decision-making and a willingness to challenge the status quo, significant improvements are possible.
Which is hopeful.
It is hopeful.
Like, it's not all doom and gloom.
No, it's not just complaining.
He's offering solutions.
He's actually, like, trying to do something about it.
Which is refreshing.
He also dives into some specific examples of Doge's impact.
Like real-world results.
Like uncovering $80 million sent to luxury hotels in New York.
What?
Supposedly for housing illegal immigrants.
Wow.
And funded by FEMA.
FEMA, which is crazy.
The agency that's supposed to help Americans in need.
Right.
When there are natural disasters.
So this raises like serious questions about how resources are allocated.
And who benefits from the current system.
Yeah.
Because it seems like maybe the wrong people are benefiting.
And this actually ties into Musk's broader concerns about immigration.
Oh, yeah, this is a big one for him.
He argues that current policies, particularly in places like California, are creating this like magnet effect, attracting illegal immigration with generous social benefits.
And he doesn't mince words about it.
He does not mince words. He calls it a giant voter fraud scam.
Wow.
aimed at creating a permanent one-party state. That's a pretty serious accusation.
It is.
So he's not holding back.
No, he's not. And this is where his skepticism of government intentions really comes into play.
Right. He sees it as a deliberate strategy to manipulate the system.
Yeah. He cites California's policy of offering free health care
To illegal immigrants.
to illegal immigrants,
Which is a very controversial policy.
a program with escalating costs.
And he believes it's less about compassion
Right.
and more about securing votes,
Right.
potentially undermining democratic processes.
Yeah, and I think, Musk's views are definitely provocative.
Oh, yeah, he's not afraid to ruffle some feathers.
And they've definitely sparked a lot of debate.
He's a lightning rod for controversy.
He is. But what's interesting is how he connects these concerns back to his experience with Doge.
Right, he's not just talking out of thin air.
Right, he's arguing that he's seen firsthand how government programs can be manipulated and exploited for political gain.
He's seen it up close and personal.
So he's essentially applying the same lens of scrutiny and accountability to the immigration debate.
Yeah, he's questioning the motives
Questioning the motives.
behind certain policies and their long-term implications,
Right.
which is something that doesn't always happen
Right.
in the mainstream narrative.
And, it doesn't stop there.
Oh, no, he keeps going.
He also takes aim at the media,
This is another one of his favorite targets.
accusing them of pushing a mind virus of misinformation and propaganda.
A mind virus.
That's distorting reality.
So he's saying it's like a disease
Yeah.
spreading through the media.
And he's not simply complaining about bias.
Right.
He's suggesting a coordinated effort to manipulate public perception.
Like a deliberate campaign.
Yeah, using specific language and talking points.
Yeah, he's noticed some patterns.
Yeah, and he calls out what he sees as blatant examples of this manipulation.
Like what, for example?
Like the insistence on using the term U.S. aid.
Instead of the agency's full name.
Right.
USAID.
U.S. aid, which he argues obscures its true function.
So he's saying they're trying to hide something
Yeah.
by using that shortened term.
He even brings up the Nazi salute controversy,
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
pointing out that others have used the same gesture without facing similar backlash.
So he thinks he's being unfairly targeted
He does.
because of his views.
He sees it as a deliberate attempt to discredit him.
And silence his criticisms.
And what's interesting here is how Musk connects this media criticism to his larger concerns about censorship and control,
Right, he sees it as part of a bigger trend.
particularly in the context of social media.
Which is interesting because he owns one of the biggest social media platforms.
He does.
No doubt.
He sees a trend towards suppressing dissenting voices,
And limiting open dialogue.
which he believes is essential for a healthy democracy.
So he's a big proponent of free speech.
He is.
Even if it means allowing some offensive or controversial views to be expressed.
And this is where his acquisition of Twitter, now X,
Right, his big move.
comes into play.
He basically took over one of the biggest platforms in the world.
He frames it as a battle for free speech.
So he sees himself as a crusader.
In a way, yeah, arguing that the alternative would have been a complete lockdown on alternative viewpoints.
So he thinks he saved free speech
He might.
by buying Twitter?
It's a bold claim, but it reflects Musk's conviction that the free flow of information is crucial for combating the mind virus he sees infecting society.
He's trying to fight back against this perceived threat.
Yeah, he believes that open dialogue, even if it includes uncomfortable or controversial ideas, is essential for uncovering the truth.
So he's willing to tolerate some bad stuff in order to get to the good stuff,
Yeah.
which is a pretty radical stance.
And this actually brings us to his concerns about AI,
Oh, yeah, this is a big one.
which is a topic where he's both fascinated and deeply apprehensive.
Right. He sees both the potential and the peril.
Yeah, he's been vocal about the potential dangers of AI, warning that it could pose an existential threat if not developed responsibly.
Yeah, he's not just some tech utopian.
No, he's not.
He sees the risks.
Yeah, and his journey with AI is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster.
So he co-founded OpenAI
Which is supposed to be like the good AI.
with the goal of creating safe, open source AI.
Yeah, democratizing AI.
But he later became disillusioned with its direction.
It went in a direction he didn't like,
Yeah,
became more corporate.
and he's now launched his own AI venture called Grok,
Grok.
which he claims is committed to truth-seeking, even if it means being politically incorrect.
So he's trying to create an AI that's not afraid to speak its mind,
Yeah.
even if it offends some people.
Yeah, it's almost like he's trying to create an AI that's immune to the mind virus he sees infecting other systems.
Like a countermeasure to the propaganda.
Grok is still in its early stages,
It's still a baby.
but it represents Musk's attempt to steer AI development in a direction he believes is more aligned with human values.
So he's trying to guide it down the right path.
Yeah, he's not simply concerned about AI becoming smarter than us.
Right.
He's worried about it being programmed with flawed goals.
Or developing a silicon consciousness that we don't fully understand.
Or control.
Which is a pretty scary thought.
It is a scary thought, and this fear of the unknown is a recurring theme in Musk's thinking.
Oh yeah, he's always looking ahead.
He's not afraid to explore unconventional ideas.
And challenge established narratives.
Even if it means venturing into territory that some might consider fringe or conspiratorial.
Yeah, he's not afraid to go there.
And that actually brings us to some of the most intriguing aspects of this deep dive.
The juicy stuff.
Musk's fascination with unanswered questions and his willingness to entertain conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah, he loves a good mystery.
He does. From the Epstein files
Oh boy.
to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump.
That's a big one.
He expresses skepticism about official narratives and hints at a deeper web of corruption and hidden agendas.
So he thinks there's more to the story.
He's particularly frustrated with the delayed release of the Epstein files, believing that powerful figures are being protected.
Yeah, he wants to know what's in those files.
He also highlights inconsistencies in the official narrative surrounding the attempted assassination of Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, he's got some theories about that.
He does.
And why certain information hasn't been made public.
And his skepticism extends to the JFK files.
Wow, he's going way back.
And even unexplained aerial phenomena, UAPs.
UFOs.
Yeah.
Aliens.
While he hasn't seen definitive proof of alien technology, he's intrigued by the possibility and wonders what people are witnessing.
So he's open-minded about it, but not convinced.
Not convinced.
Which is a reasonable position.
Yeah, and this open-mindedness about UAPs kind of contrasts with his skepticism about other government activities.
It's like he trusts them on some things,
right,
not on others.
It suggests that he's willing to consider possibilities beyond conventional explanations, even if they seem far-fetched.
He's not afraid to think outside the box.
And I think it's this willingness to challenge assumptions.
And explore alternative perspectives.
That makes Musk such a compelling figure.
Yeah, he's definitely not boring.
He seems to believe that there's more to these stories than meets the eye.
There's always another layer.
And he's not afraid to voice those suspicions, even if it makes him a target.
He's willing to take the heat.
And it's this combination of intellectual curiosity, technological ambition, and deep-seated skepticism that drives his quest to uncover the truth.
No matter how uncomfortable it may be.
And that's what makes him so fascinating.
He's a complex character.
He is.
Yeah, he's not afraid to go there. And I think it's this willingness to kind of like delve into these controversial topics really sets him apart. You know, he seems to see this pattern of like deception and control that extends beyond any single issue, affecting everything from government institutions to the media.
And it kind of brings us back to his concept of the mind virus.
Right.
This idea that misinformation and propaganda are being deliberately spread.
To manipulate public perception.
Yeah.
Shape narratives, influence behavior.
Like he really thinks it's like this pervasive force.
Oh, yeah.
That's shaping our world.
It's like a lens that distorts everything.
And to really understand this concept, we kind of have to look at Musk's specific concerns about media manipulation.
Right.
You know, he argues that it's not just about bias, but like a coordinated effort to control the flow of information.
A deliberate campaign.
Yeah, he points to the use of specific language and talking points across multiple outlets.
Yeah, as evidence of this coordination.
Like when he calls out the Associated Press for their reporting on Doge.
Oh, yeah?
He claims they ran an international news story about Doge firing air traffic controllers.
When in reality, they were trying to hire more.
Yeah, and he sees this as like a deliberate attempt to paint Doge in a negative light.
To undermine its efforts.
Yeah, and I think this example really illustrates Musk's belief that the media often prioritizes sensationalism over accuracy.
Yeah, facts don't always sell.
Especially when it comes to challenging established narratives.
Right, it's easier to go with the flow.
And he argues that this kind of reporting contributes to the spread of the mind virus.
It makes it harder for people to know what to believe.
Yeah, to discern truth from fiction.
And he even uses the term associated propaganda instead of Associated Press.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty bold.
Even for Elon.
He's not pulling any punches.
And he sees this incident as part of a larger pattern of media bias.
Particularly against him.
Yeah, and his ventures.
Which, you can kind of understand why he would feel that way.
I mean, he's a very polarizing figure.
He is, and he's often in the news.
And I think, while his claims about a coordinated mind virus might seem extreme to some, it's important to consider the broader context of his argument.
Right, he's not just ranting.
No, he's essentially raising concerns about the power of information control.
In a world where technology is rapidly changing how we consume and share news.
Yeah, and it's not just traditional media he's worried about.
Right.
He's also expressed concerns about censorship and control on social media platforms.
Which is interesting because he owns one of the biggest ones.
He does.
No.
Yeah, remember his whole rationale for buying Twitter?
Oh, yeah.
He framed it as a fight for free speech,
His big crusade.
arguing that it was becoming an echo chamber.
Silencing dissenting voices.
Yeah, and his acquisition of Twitter, now X, reflects this deep belief in the importance of open dialogue and the free flow of information.
He's put his money where his mouth is.
He argues that these platforms have become essential for public discourse.
The digital town square.
And that censorship, even with good intentions, can have unintended consequences.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
He's even said that if Twitter hadn't become a digital town square, where a wide range of viewpoints could be expressed,
Right.
civilization might have been on a path to self-destruction.
Wow, that's a pretty dramatic statement.
It is, but it shows how seriously he takes the role of these platforms.
In shaping public discourse.
And I think his actions with X, like reinstating previously banned accounts and loosening content moderation policies, are a direct reflection of this philosophy.
He's walking the walk.
Yeah. He's essentially betting that allowing more voices to be heard, even those considered controversial or offensive,
Right.
is ultimately better for society than attempting to control the narrative.
It's a bold experiment.
It is.
We'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, and this kind of brings us back to his vision for AI,
Right.
particularly his new venture, Grok.
Grok, the truth-seeking AI.
He's described it as an AI that's committed to truth-seeking.
Even if it means being politically incorrect.
Yeah, it's almost like he's trying to create an antidote to the mind virus he sees spreading through other AI systems.
It's like a vaccine for the propaganda.
And this raises the question of whether AI can truly be objective.
That's the big question.
Can an algorithm be programmed to discern truth from falsehood
Right.
without inheriting the biases of its creators?
Let's have fun.
It is. Musk seems to believe that it's possible,
He's an optimist.
and that Grok represents a step towards achieving that goal.
So he's trying to build a better AI.
Yeah.
One that's not susceptible to the same flaws as humans.
And he's clearly excited about the potential of AI.
Oh, yeah. He sees it as a transformative technology.
But he's also deeply aware of the risks.
Right. He's not naive.
He's talked about the dangers of programming AI with flawed goals.
Which could lead to unintended consequences.
Yeah, he's even alluded to the possibility of AI developing a form of silicon consciousness.
That we don't fully understand or control.
And this concept of silicon consciousness is particularly intriguing.
It's like something out of science fiction.
What does it mean for a machine to become conscious?
Right.
Could AI potentially surpass human intelligence?
And develop its own values and motivations.
These are questions that science fiction has explored for decades.
Right.
But now, thanks to advances in AI, they're becoming increasingly relevant in the real world.
It's no longer just a thought experiment.
And Musk isn't just theorizing about these possibilities.
Right.
He's actively trying to shape the development of AI through his ventures like Grok and Neuralink.
He's not just sitting on the sidelines.
He seems to believe that we're on the verge of a technological singularity.
Where AI could fundamentally alter what it means to be human.
Yeah. And this brings us to, I think, a crucial point. Musk's fascination with AI isn't just about technological advancement.
Right.
It's about understanding the nature of consciousness itself.
It's a philosophical question.
Yeah, he seems to believe that AI could hold the key to unlocking the mysteries of the human mind.
And potentially even transcending the limitations of our biology.
It's a heady concept.
It is.
And one that kind of leads us into some pretty deep philosophical waters.
Yeah, we're getting into the deep end here.
But it also connects back to his concerns about misinformation and control.
Right.
If AI is going to play such a significant role in our future,
who will control its development?
And what values will it be programmed with?
These are questions that we as a society need to start grappling with.
Yeah.
The stakes are incredibly high.
And I think that's what makes this conversation so fascinating. Musk isn't just talking about technology.
Right.
He's talking about the fundamental questions of who we are and what kind of future we want to create.
Big picture stuff.
Yeah. And his willingness to tackle these big ideas, even if it means venturing into controversial territory, is what makes him such a compelling and thought-provoking figure.
He's not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Yeah, it's almost like he's looking at the big picture, right? Trying to connect the dots between these seemingly disparate issues like government waste media manipulation, the rise of AI.
Right.
And it all seems to point towards this system that's just not working the way it should.
Yeah, a system that's broken in many ways.
And he's definitely not afraid to call out what he sees as corruption and hidden agendas, even if it puts him in the crosshairs.
No, he's not afraid of a fight.
But, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. He's also actively trying to find solutions to push for change.
To make things better.
And I think Doge is a prime example of that.
Yeah, Doge is his attempt to fix the government.
It's not just about exposing waste.
Right.
It's about finding ways to make the system more efficient and accountable.
Yeah, to actually improve things.
He's applying his entrepreneurial mindset to the realm of government.
Which is a pretty radical concept.
It is.
To think that we can run the government like a business.
And you know he's already having an impact.
Like what, for example?
Like, remember that example we talked about earlier of simply requiring payment codes on Treasury transactions?
Oh, yeah.
That one change could potentially save billions of dollars.
It's amazing how much waste there is.
It's crazy.
That we could just eliminate with a few simple changes.
It shows that even small adjustments, when implemented strategically, can have this, like, ripple effect.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect.
Like he's saying, look, we don't have to accept this broken system. There are solutions out there if we're willing to challenge the status quo and think outside the box.
You need to be more creative.
And he's not just criticizing. He's offering alternatives. He's putting his money where his mouth is.
Right, he's investing in solutions.
Investing in initiatives like Doge and X and pushing for greater transparency and accountability.
In both government and the media.
And let's not forget about Grok.
Right.
It's almost like he's trying to create an AI that can cut through the noise.
The misinformation.
The misinformation and get to the heart of the truth.
Like a truth serum for the internet.
He's betting on technology as a potential solution to some of these deep-seated problems.
Which is interesting because technology is often seen as part of the problem.
Right.
But he sees it as part of the solution.
It's a fascinating concept. But it also raises questions. Can an AI truly be objective?
That's the big question.
Can it be programmed to resist manipulation and pursue truth without inheriting the biases of its creators?
It's a tough one.
I don't know if we have the answers yet.
Yeah, it's still early days.
But what I find inspiring is that Musk is asking these questions.
Right?
Pushing the boundaries of what's possible and challenging us to think differently about the future.
He's a visionary.
He's not afraid to dream big.
And to take risks.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the mind of Elon Musk, I think the biggest takeaway for me is this. We're living in a time of unprecedented change.
Right.
And it's up to each of us to decide what role we want to play in shaping the future.
Are we going to be passive observers or active participants?
Will we accept the status quo or challenge it?
Will we embrace new technologies and ideas or cling to the familiar?
These are the questions that Musk is asking.
And they're questions that each of us needs to answer for ourselves.
I don't think this is the last we'll hear from Elon Musk.
No, he's not going away anytime soon.
He's a force to be reckoned with.
And his ideas, whether you love them or hate them,
are shaping the world we live in.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring his worldview. And I encourage you to continue the conversation. Dive deeper into these topics, challenge your own assumptions, and decide what you believe.
The future is being written right now.
And we all have a role to play.